This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Corey C., and I'm here with a very special guest today. I don't think I've ever interviewed an author, and he has numerous credentials. He is an author, he is the media ambassador of Love.io, and he is also the chief creative officer of ThinkIP. Andrew, how are you today, man? It's a pleasure to be with you.
I'm fantastic, Corey. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here. I'm good.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you, as a individual with so much credentials and working on not only a book but working with Love.io, working with ThinkIP, would you be able to describe your current situation? And as they call you in France, Mac. So I'm going to refer you as Mac. So a little bit about your situation, Mac, with ThinkIP and Love.io specifically.
Certainly. Well, ThinkIP, we've been working in the IP industry. I have for decades now. And my partner, Greta, and I set up ThinkIP a couple of years ago. And we create IP, as what we're talking about today with books. I also draw cartoon characters and launch cartoon characters for children's animation. Awesome. And we handle all sort of different aspects of IP. We create it, we sell it, we monetize it for people. We have external clients and we have our own in-house IP. And in doing that, Greta, my partner, was looking to set up a foundation for writers, new emerging talent. And she was on the hunt for a suitable cryptocurrency to help back it. And then she came across Love.io, which obviously has a quite a focus on creatives. Mm-hmm. And so she got talking to the CEO, Anders, and he then invited her to not only become an ambassador, but help him run the whole ambassador program. And so there was me just about to semi-retire, sit on a beach and write more books. But that didn't happen. She dragged me back into the business, and here we are. So it's lovely. We're merging two companies. We're working our own company, ThinkIP, but our skills lend themselves excellently to the ThinkIO ambassador program, which we're proud to be part of. So it's all good.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you so much for that introduction and discussing how these two enterprises can benefit one another in a majority of ways. And I appreciate that you create children's cartoons as well, and create, because right now in a very uncertain climate with the COVID-19 pandemic, with the war in Ukraine, with a lot of macro issues that could cause a lot of instability of moods, I think that it's important to have those outlets for children that still exist. So kudos for you for doing that.
Thank you very much. I think I agree with you. It's incredibly important. And one of the things I aim to do is to entertain and inspire.
Awesome.
I like to think, some people might disagree, but I like to think I'm pretty good at the entertainment bit, and I like my characters to inspire people. So whether it's children of a young age or whether it's adults, between the two, I think we've got it covered. And never has it been more urgent than in today's climate. I agree with you.
Amen to that. I think it really speaks volumes that children need the outlet of I want to say, I'm just going to say it as it is, sanity in a world that's gone insane right now. So again, thank you for doing what you do for children. And so which leads me into my next question, actually. And it's funny, I haven't brought this up to you, but I haven't written anything, but I've wrote poems. I've done a lot of college writing in my years at universities, writing papers, dissertations, but I've never wrote a book, and I'm very, very, very excited to learn about this from your perspective. How did you get into writing? What was the main reason?
For me, I've always been creative ever since I was a child, like most people. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, what you just referred to, it gets beaten out of us by life. A lot of us lose that creativity, and I'm just an overgrown child, really, and I enjoy being one.
I like that.
So I've always been creative, but I used to concentrate on drawing, sketching, painting, cartoons, things like this. And to be honest, I used to struggle with what was going on in here, by the time it traveled down my arm and out through my fingers onto the paper, I was always disappointed. But later in life, and I did decades and decades of this, and I set up a company using those skills. But later on in life, I started to write. And I found that what came out of my fingertips onto the keyboard was about 95% accurate as to what was going on in my brain. And after I'd done a second or third draft, it was there. And I got much more enjoyment from writing than I did from creating any visual images. And so I decided to concentrate on the writing. And once I did that, the ideas just kept flowing into my brain. And so I enjoy the process. It's one of those things, they say you need to find your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read any self-help books, finding your passion is all about, if you had limitless amounts of money, what would you then do? And whatever you would do is pretty much your passion. And I would write for free. I mean, I just write all day long. I love it. So that's how I got into it. So even though I was running a business at the time, you always find time to do your passion. And so in my spare time, I started writing, and then I started publishing books. And I've done it on Amazon with self-publishing. And then I found a deal with a company in Sweden called Arena Scripts. Awesome. We now publish my books, and they concentrate more on the audio book side. So it's for me, it's been a real journey of discovery, and in later life, really finding my passion and enjoying it. And if you can make money or make a living doing your passion, then you're a very lucky person.
I absolutely agree. I think it was, not sure if it was Mark Twain or Confucius. I'm almost positive it was Confucius that said, if you find what you do, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And
exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And I think a lot of people in today's climate, in today's macro environment, they unfortunately they go into a profession in which that they're not passionate about, which creates this universal lack of passion. And I think that individual passion, as it still exists, should be fostered, should flourish, should expand, because we need it now more than ever. So kudos for you for being able to find that passion and being able to use the power of the written word and the creative consciousness of the human mind to be able to express that. So
thank you for saying that. It's incredibly important. I come from a country, Wales, over in the UK, and we are considered a passionate race. I'm sure there's a lot of nationalities that would say they are as well. But I believe you have to live passionately. And so for me, it's writing and a number of other things, but writing. And I've done a number of jobs in my life, and I've run a number of companies, my own businesses. Awesome. And if you're making money, that's great. We all need to put food on the table. But when I write something and somebody reads it and they enjoy it, and they come back to me with some positive feedback, honestly, it's the best paycheck I could have. It's worth more than any amount of money. It's a drug. It's fantastic. I really enjoy it.
Amen to that, man. I appreciate that sentiment, and I appreciate you saying that the best paycheck. That's an interesting way to put that.
You can have that, but copyright Andrew McIntyre. Okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Good for you. I love that. That's an awesome mind state to have. So,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me ask you this then, because when you ask an author about their ideas and their thoughts, there's always where they derive from. So regarding your books, where did the ideas for your books come from? Like, where do they derive themselves from?
Well, there's two answers to that. There's one answer, which is the specific books, and I can give you some short stories on how I did that.
Sure.
Something I want to come on to after that about an author called Liz Gilbert. So with Clansman, which is the latest one coming out, I actually sat down watching television one day, and in the UK, we have a lot of shows to do with antiques. Awesome. I saw a ram's head as an item on an antique show, and it had silver trinkets all the way around it. And they pulled the top of the skull off, sounds a bit morbid, but and it was used as a snuff box. And these little silver tools were little spades and shovels that the ancient people used to take snuff with. And I found that fascinating. And at the time, I was researching my family tree. And I thought everyone researches their family tree and they probably hope to find that they're an ancestor of a king or someone rich and that they own half of England or half of America or something. But I sat there and thought, well, what if your ancestors were sinister? What if they weren't the kind of people that you really want to be descended from?
Mhm.
And so I took this family tree element and I put it together with this object in the antique show, and literally a story came into my head, and I developed that story further. And prior to that, I wrote another book called Magon, which is already out, and that's about a man who's partly a dragon through DNA morphing in his system. And I was walking through the center of my hometown one day, and I went past the museum, it's a beautiful old building, and there was an exhibit of dinosaurs inside. And to market this dinosaur exhibition, they had put huge fiberglass claws coming over the top of the whole building. And it really struck me. First of all, I enjoy marketing. I've done enough of it in my time. And I thought, marketing gets a bad rep, but that is a classic example of really excellent marketing. And so it started me thinking about, wow, what if I didn't think of a dinosaur, I thought of a dragon. It's the emblem of my country. And by the time I'd walked home, I was staying with a friend at the time, I had the whole story in my head. And I quickly rushed in and grabbed my computer and made a load of notes. And that story developed into a book. So there was two very specific incidents there where those ideas came to me. However, this lady, Elizabeth Gilbert, has written a book. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which is a very famous book, and it was turned into a film, I think, with, I can't remember the name of the actress now. But she also wrote another book called Big Magic. And Big Magic is about literally just creativity. And she believes, and now I've read her book, I listened to the audiobook actually, I subscribe to the same thing, that these creative ideas are energy and they're floating around in the ether and they can come to you. So I see myself more as a channel for creative ideas. It's not just me coming up with these things. Some stuff gets presented to me and it turns into a really cool idea for a book or a movie or a TV show or something like that. So I think it's a mixture of two things. I think creative energy is something in its own right. And I know this sounds a bit strange and a bit weird, but if anyone's interested in listening to Liz Gilbert's audiobook on the subject, it's fascinating. And these ideas come to people, and if you don't use them, they'll move on to someone else. Mm-hmm. And they have a life of their own. And so I try and use every creative idea that comes to me. I carry a notebook with me everywhere I go. And I've got my iPhone and I make notes on things. And sooner or later, most of those ideas will transpire into an idea for a book or a movie or a TV show or a cartoon series for kids or something like that. And so for me, it's partly, I tend to refine the ideas. The ideas come to me, whether I'm in the shower or walking down the street, and then I tend to work on them and refine them and turn them into something tangible. And I find it a privilege to be part of that process. It's great.
Oh, it's amazing. And you said before it's strange. I don't think that's strange at all. I think metaphysical abstraction, just because something is not visible doesn't make it invalid. So I absolutely agree that there are individuals out there that are able to garner ideas from a metaphysical perspective that other people don't have the creative ability to acquiesce such a mind state. And exactly. And that's very important for writers around the world to understand that creativity is the bedrock of being an author. And so before I go to the next question about the Clansman, I'd like to share my screen and I want to show the the book itself, because I'm really excited. You brought up the RAM, which was really, really awesome when you showed me. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to show everyone the Clansman. So this is the Clansman, a family tree watered with blood. This is very, very interesting. I think this is an awesome, I really think this is awesome. I like this as an individual who is into history myself, that went to school to be a history teacher. This speaks history to me.
Yeah,
So
good. I'm glad that was the aim.
yeah, no, and you do it quite well. And I have to say, like you said, that you watch a lot of shows in regards to antiques, and there's so much history in Europe, specifically in the UK, for the last 5,000 years. You have Stonehenge, you have Roman Britannia, you have then the breakup of England into numerous different kingdoms, from Northumbria to East Anglia to Wessex. Then you have the Kingdom of England, and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited to, and also about the history of Scotland. And I'm looking forward to hearing about the Clansman. So what is the Clansman about?
It starts in ancient Scotland. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you too much because I need people to come by the book, but it starts in ancient Scotland, and it briefly describes how an individual becomes a clansman. And we're talking 14th century, so to become the clansman, you basically have to kill someone.
Right.
So it's hand-to-hand fighting, and you get some of that Scottish history. And then it leaps forward to modern day London. And there are some murders, what appear to be random murders around the British Isles. And then we focus on the main character, who's an internationally successful architect. And his practice is in a building just on the side of the River Thames in London. And he lives 12 floors up in a penthouse with his wife. And he gets a call that his twin brother has come home to see them. But when he finishes in the office that day and he goes up in the elevator and he's checking his emails, he walks in to discover his wife and twin brother have been brutally murdered. And so we go through all the shock and awe of that. And then we follow the story of him being held in a cell, but not because necessarily he's a suspect, more for his protection. And to take it a step further, there's two agents then come to see him, counter-terrorism agents, and they're starting to piece together why his wife may have been murdered. They found a link, and they decide that this link is so urgent they need to move him quite urgently. And in doing so, there's a pair of agents. One agent is in the car, and when he turns the key, the car explodes. And so it sets the architect, his name's Alistair MacLeish, on this downward spiral with an agent accompanying him to try and find out what on earth is going on, but more importantly, why. Because his wife's a totally innocent person, and so is his brother. And then it starts to reach back into Scottish history and the reason why. And so we follow him on this sort of roller coaster adventure with this agent for protection. And they're trying to discover what's going on. And then as we get to the end of the book, there's more than one twist, which I'm quite pleased with. And I wish I could say I came up with both twists, but Greta, my partner, came up with one of them. So I have to give her the credit for that.
That sounds amazing. And especially the time period in which it occurs. 14th century Scotland. So early on in the 14th century, so for those who are not adept with history, that's the 1300s, you have William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, and Scotland attempting to become independent from England. And this is a time period, a tumultuous time period for Scotland, not to mention the fact that 30 to 40 years later, the Black Death comes into Europe. So this is a very, very, very interesting time in European history, specifically Anglo-Saxon Scottish history as well. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to pick up a book. I'm going to pick up this book because this is very interesting. I'm going to share this book with my mother because she's very interested in Scottish history as well. So this is something that's very, very, very exciting for me as well.
Good, I'm glad. I hope that, that your friends and colleagues over in the States like it, because I know that a lot of American people like the British history. So hopefully I've melded together enough ingredients for them to find it interesting read, gripping read.
Oh yeah, they do. I could say that if you're a history buff in America, you know, you've seen Braveheart, you've seen The Patriot, you like the book, you like the show Turn. I mean, the common ancestry, it would make logical sense to have that ability. I just wish that more Americans were adept in history and actually knew who our first president was, because I know some people who don't know. Um,
Okay.
Sad, but yeah, no, I'm very excited about it, and my friends are very big into history, so this is very exciting. I'm very this next question is a very interesting one in my opinion, because it seems like the amalgamation of these two ethoses seems almost not impossible, but it just seems improbable. And I'm really curious on how you, with creativity, amalgamate these two together. How do you connect Love.io with this book that's about becoming a Klansman?
Well, it's not so much about the subject matter. It's a privilege to be part of Love.io, but for me, it's also close to my heart, because I am a creative person, and Love.io, you only have to listen to the CEO Anders speak, and it's all about supporting creatives. And so I had a chat with him, and I wanted to be the first person to have a book out there with the Love.io, a QR code, and the Love.io emblem on the cover. It's probably going to be on the back. I wanted it on the front, but the design team said, no, we can't do that for various reasons, but it's going to be on there. And that's very proud for me to be able to allow readers the opportunity to get involved with Love. And that would be in terms of micro tipping and donations and things of that type. Now, I'm not necessarily desperate for people to send me any tips or donations, but I want to get the process moving. Greta and I are working very hard on the ambassador program, and I thought, what better way? I'm launching a book to get the name out there, and a privileged thing for me to be able to do is to put the Love.io emblem on there and the QR code, so that people could see how easy it is to support creative people. Because traditionally, creative people don't get paid what they're worth, and I'm not going to go on a rant here about creative people in their positions, but you know, a lot of people are out there struggling. They're trying to become writers and artists and photographers and painters and whatever. And so to marry up my passion for creativity with my passion for the Love.io token and the cryptocurrency, it was a no-brainer for me. And so it's not so much about the subject matter of the book. It's the fact that I have a new book coming to launch. We're pushing it hard. We're going to have a lot of coverage on as many platforms as we can get it on. And so I wanted to get the Love.io stamp of approval on the back as well. And so I had a chat with Anders, and he said, of course, great, what a better way to promote it than that, on your own piece of creativity. So it sits very comfortably with me. I'm very proud to do it. There's books out there being sold as NFTs and stuff in the cryptocurrency world, but this is the first for the Love.io community, and I'm very proud of it.
That's amazing. I really appreciate you doing that, and I really appreciate that you're embodying the spirit and necessity for content creators to be compensated what they deserve, because you have so many middlemen in the content creating arena that are siphoning content creators' ability to monetize their content to the truest of extents that they could. I'll make a perfect example. I don't have that large of a channel. I have 2,650 subscribers, but I get paid like 15 shekels a month from YouTube, because the ad revenue is lack of a better word, pathetic. And micro tipping in a censorship resistant environment allows for revenue streams to be more abundant, to be more transparent, to be more direct, rather than having to go through numerous different third parties to achieve that. All you have to do is scan the QR code, send love, done. So, and that universal language is also very interesting, with the name being able to coincide with the ethos that all human beings share. So that's also a very interesting concept. So
yeah, I mean, it's sorry, Corey, to cut across you.
Go ahead.
I mean, even the name alone is such a powerful element to what this cryptocurrency is all about. It sums it up in one word. It's universal, as you say. And you know, if someone wanted to give a book well, now you can give it with love. Now you can actually give love, and I think that's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic concept. So I'm not the techie. I don't get involved with the technical behind the scenes. But from a creative person's point of view, I've been waiting for something like this for years. And so I know that the whole creative community out there will be feeling the same way. So, you know, it's an exciting time to be able to give love through this channel of a book. I think it's marvelous.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, in regards to the tech side, I agree with you. I have the technical IQ of a lamppost. So I don't I don't know anything about technical specifications, but I do understand, as you pointed out, the creative necessity of monetizing content creation, because it is an industry, and it's an industry that's often siphoned by those who are easily able to take advantage of people who don't have tens of million subscribers. It's almost like if you're not a PewDiePie or Joe Rogan or an Ernest Hemingway, it's very difficult to monetize content.
Exactly. And just sorry, Corey, just on that point. Again, I'm not a technical person, but I'm well aware that everyone out there at the moment is discussing NFTs. It's a huge subject. And with love, we're getting into that marketplace as well. And so people are creating books as NFTs. And you know what the exciting bit for that for me is, if when I sign a publishing deal, the publishers are going to take 70% of the royalty straight away. If I publish a book as an NFT, we can turn that on its head, and the creative person can get the lion's share of the revenue for what they're worth, because a lot of time and effort has gone into, and creative energy has gone into that piece of work.
Of course.
So I want to see people turning industries on their heads. So that's another goal of mine as well.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. People should be compensated for their labor. People should be compensated for their creativity. People should be compensated for the work that they do, not being exploited by others. So I agree with you 100%. So let me ask you this: as an author, what future books are planned in your series of books?
Oh wow! Well, that's a very good question. The first book I had, Magon, which we're not discussing here, but that's already on the market. That already has, 2 or 3 more books in the series to come out, because it's going to introduce the audience to some new superheroes. I have another theory, which is, why should Marvel have all the fun? So I'm creating some Celtic superheroes that are going to play in alongside the main character of the first book. We are already working, and I say we because Greta, that I've mentioned a few times, is helping me to write another book now, which is, again, a bit of a mystery. There is a murder in it, and it's set in Venice. So another beautifully historical place, and that's based around a genuine family that existed over a few hundred years, and they were one of the richest families in Venice. But that's going to take an awful lot of research, and we'll probably have to visit Venice, unfortunately. You know, we're going to have to go there and soak up the atmosphere. And as you know, wine is a very good creative instrument. So we're going to have a glass of wine on the Grand Canal. And after that, I'm writing a book about a poker player in the States who has some information accidentally imprinted on her DNA. Oof. And some sinister people want to access that information, and she needs to make sure they don't get it. So I quite like jumping about with subject matter. I'm not one of these people that just creates one character and then writes 9 books with that character always coming back in each one. I like to break the boundaries down a bit, and I like subjects that I like genetics and DNA and things like this. I find it incredibly interesting. And so I like to write books that have an element of truth, and then we play with the story a little bit and add some fiction in and make it even more exciting. So yeah, we've got a good half a dozen more books in the pipeline. I just need to find some time when I'm not promoting love to sit down and write, when my lady will allow me to do that.
No, that's amazing. And you know, I'm Italian, so I can make fun of Italians. Let me know in Venice if they accept cannolis as currency. So, so I'm sure that's the rich family. That's what they accepted: cannolis and meatballs.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we're spending a lot of time in Venice at the moment in our heads. And
Awesome.
it's a very pleasurable thing to do. So we're sitting down researching this story. We're getting very excited about it. There's lots of twists and turns in that one, and it's based about, I'd say, 80% in fact. These people and these organizations really existed in Venice, and it's very exciting. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us on that book, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need to broaden my horizons a bit. I envy Anders and his ability to take a plane, take a flight to Ecuador, then Los Angeles, then London, then Jupiter. I've never
Yeah.
I've never been on a plane before, so I believe it or
Oh
not.
wow.
And no, I have never been on a plane. I don't know, my family's never really gone on vacation. I mean, I haven't really traveled far. I've been to, I don't know, Vermont, upstate New York, Massachusetts, Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, but I've never left that corner of America, which kind of makes me think to myself, wow, I need to broaden my horizons a little bit and have a little bit of fortitude and not be so nervous in traveling. So
I think you need to trace your Italian roots, and when Greta and I are flying over to Venice, I think you might have to join us.
no, that would be awesome. I mean, I really, really, really am excited to learn about Italy, especially with the Etruscans, with the foundation of Rome, Alba Longa with the Trojan War, the expansion of Rome, the Temple of Jupiter, the Vatican. It's a very I'm very interested in Italy. I had a friend of mine go to Italy. I have a piece that was found outside of the Roman Colosseum. I have a piece of it right next to my bed, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and I wonder how Roman emperors would feel if they found out that a piece of Roman Colosseum is in some moron's half the other side of the world next to his twin-sized bed. But
For a man who was aiming to teach history or did teach history, I think that is the best way of teaching history. If you can go and touch something, I mean, we're not allowed to in various monuments these days, but if you stand in front of something or touch it and know that this went back so many hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, whatever, I think that brings people's minds alive, and especially younger minds. So if you have the Colosseum, I'm envious, mate.
No, I absolutely agree. I think it was Aldous Huxley who said that men don't learn very much from the lessons of history. It's the most important lesson of history. So that's a very, very important mind state in that respect. So I appreciate you saying that. Let me ask you this then regarding creatives. What is the future for Love.io and creatives from your perspective as an author and an individual who promotes Love.io? Where do you see the creative atmosphere?
The thing is, it's huge. And so it's very difficult for me to quantify it because it's as big as we want to make it. I mean, you can give love, and that's how we talk about it, in so many different ways. And I am in the privileged position of talking to people about this and trying to bring them on board as ambassadors, especially creative people. And the minute I start talking to them, their brains are on fire. And they're coming up with 20 other ways of implementing this cryptocurrency than we've ever thought of. And this is just growing and growing and growing. And you can see the light in their eyes clicking on, oh, well, what if I can do this for myself and my creativity? And I'm talking to all sorts of people in the film industry, people in the TV industry, authors like myself, artists, photographers. It goes on and on and on. I was having a very nice phone call with a lady the other day who's a photographer, and she's keen on coming on board. And she runs a system at the moment where it's all based on donations. And so professionally, or with the company in mind, we're looking at bringing all the creatives on first, and influencers and things like that. And then after the launch, the official launch in the summer, it'll be more businesses. But honestly, it's growing exponentially, and the creative people I'm talking to, by the very fact that they have a creative mind, they're coming up with avenues for this that I haven't even thought of. And so I'm just excited. I would like to see it as a mainstream currency, to be honest. I don't see any reason why not. I think it's just a matter of time. Obviously, people have differing views on cryptocurrency generally, but with Love.io, again, I'm stressing I'm not a technical person, but I mean, on the pulse chain side of things, it's got the best security out there at the moment, so you can't do any better than that. And I could, I would like to be able to buy works of art with love. I really would. I'd like to be able to buy my coffee with love tokens, anything, because I think it deserves it, and I think people will enjoy being able to give love. It makes them feel good, and the word and the phrase.
Of course.
So from the point of view from the creatives, I can see it really catching on fire over the next few months. There isn't a creative industry that you can't implement it into, and that goes for businesses as well. So I would really, myself, I'd like to see it as a mainstream, predominant currency in the future. That's the goal.
I absolutely agree with you 100% on everything you just said. And which I want to ask, this is a question that I feel is very, very, very important to understand the root foundation of creativity for all individual content creators. And which leads me to my last question. What inspires you? In that concise question, what inspires you to be a writer and to promote love.io?
Wow. Okay, that's deep. Well, there's a side to me which you don't know about. I know you and I have met before. I know the viewers won't know that. I've just been through 2.5 years, I think, of cancer.
Oh my God.
And I've beaten that.
Congratulations. Good for you. God bless. That's awesome.
As a result of the cancer treatment, I had to have bowel surgery. So that's another thing. I've overcome that.
Good for you.
And I've now found, without getting too mushy, the most amazing woman on the planet.
Awesome.
And so being the luckiest guy around, and being, I would say, without being big-headed, one of life's winners, because I'm still here, and I have the ability to be creative, and I can share all these experiences with an amazing woman. That's what inspires me. That's what makes me get out of bed every morning.
That's amazing. No, that's very heartfelt, and that's amazing. By the way, I did not know that. Congratulations on beating cancer. That's something that not everybody can see.
It's not something we normally talk about, but seeing as you asked the question, it's that's what inspires me. That's what motivates me every day.
No, that deserves it. That deserves recognition. That is not an easy feat to overcome.
Thank you, my friend.
So again, I want to say, Andrew, Mac, I appreciate your ability to be transparent, your creative side, your historical side, your ability to promote and understand the necessity of the content creator economy and its need for love.io. And I also want to say I appreciate the personal transparency. It takes a lot of fortitude to be able to share that type of experience with an audience. So I appreciate that, Andrew. Mac. I keep saying Andrew, but Mac.
You can call me either one, mate. Doesn't matter. But and I'd like to thank you. Thank you for having me on here, but also thank you for what you're doing, because you're also obviously another creative person. I personally believe we're all creative. I genuinely believe that. I think any single person can be creative. It just depends which avenue you go down, whether you want to sculpt something or write something, create podcasts or whatever it may be. And I think this world, as you said at the beginning of our chat, needs more creativity, not less. And I think it's incredibly important for younger people, for children and things like that. But it's equally important for people of our age and any age. I mean, we need to enjoy our lives and we need to have fun. And creativity for me is the ultimate amount of fun. It's just amazing.
Awesome. That's a great ending. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your time. I really appreciate your time. And again, congratulations for defeating cancer.
Thanks very much, Corey. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. Thank you very much, young man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.